Thank you for joining us today. We're here with Traci Prescott, the Fine Arts Coordinator for Indianapolis Public Schools. And we want to have a discussion with Traci. She's gracefully agreed to talk to us about the fine arts programs at Indianapolis Public Schools and how they've utilized the pInstruments and what they hope to accomplish with those. We delivered pInstruments to every elementary school in Indianapolis, which is exciting for everyone. And
Yes.
we've had some good connections with some of the teachers actually too. So we're interested in that. So Traci, thanks for joining us. Could you tell us just a little about you and your background and just a quick summary of how you got where you are?
Yeah, so I have been teaching for 32 years. I came into this role in June of 2023. And before that, I taught elementary general music. I taught middle school and high school band. I taught middle school orchestra. I feel like I've pretty much done it all and paid my dues in about every way I could, except for choir. I thankfully never had to do that, but I'm not a choir person. So, but yeah, coming into the role here in Indianapolis Public Schools has been really fun. And I came in at a perfect time when we were trying to spend up COVID relief funds, as well as kind of reorganize our entire district into a zone model, replicating some of our more popular models like International Baccalaureate, Montessori, STEM, things like that. So there's been a lot of change in the last year. But with those COVID relief funds, we, like you mentioned, we put in some of the pInstruments into all 30, actually 34, because we have some schools that are kind of like charter schools that we run also. And we put those in all of those schools. So it's been really exciting. And the teachers have really, really kind of latched onto the pInstruments and the ease of using them. And I haven't shared this with you yet, but we're ordering more.
That's great news. We appreciate that. Maybe back up a little bit and tell us about you had to reorganize. You wanted to include pInstruments. Tell me a little bit about that journey and how it came to this point. What issues we're trying to solve?
Our issue was that we had elementary schools over here that had full sets of xylophones, full sets of ukuleles, boom whackers, guitars, all kinds of things. And then we had schools over here that had like a box of rhythm sticks and some old triangles and sand blocks, and so we had a great disparity in our corporation with have and have not. So one of the things that we worked with the elementaries is we made a list of what we wanted every single elementary to have in the general music room. Then we inventoried every music room, and then we filled in all the gaps. So the schools that already had a lot got more, but the goal was to make every single music room in this district have everything they needed so that instruments and equipment was not the obstacle to their teaching. Usually you're begging on donors' trues or looking for grants and things like that. And we wanted to take that obstacle away from the teachers. Everybody has everything now. So including PA equipment, they've got DJ equipment, they've got, headset microphones. One teacher this morning just texted me and she's like, how do I hook this up? I've got laryngitis. I need to be able to use this headset microphone today. So I talked her through that really quick. So it was just giving them some tools that they wouldn't normally be able to have access to.
And so how did pInstruments get added into that list?
So the pInstruments were introduced to me by Randy Greenwell, who's one of our former Indianapolis directors here. And he brought them in and showed them to me. And as a former band director / elementary general music teacher, I'm like, these would be really cool to put in all the elementaries because it would give the kids some experience on band instruments before they even get to middle school, where we were moving the band, orchestra, and choir programs to middle school. We formerly had them in 4th and 5th grade and in some spots, but again, that was another area of inequity where some schools had it, some schools didn't. So then it kind of gave everybody the access, and the pBuzz is just cool. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And when I had a chance to kind of play with it for a while, I was kind of thinking, I wish I had had this in my general music classroom when I was teaching, because it doesn't require any, you know, fingerings or valves or anything like that. So I, you know, wanted to see those go in as well, because those are just so completely accessible.
And so you tried them out. You probably showed them to a few of the teachers.
Yep,
as
I
well.
had them at a PD. We had a PD day, and I had all of them out there, and they were enamored with them as well. Just
Mhm.
at the cost level where they were, the quality. We did a little experiment at one of the PDs where we had a real trumpet and a pTrumpet behind something, so they couldn't tell which was which. And honestly, most of them could not tell the difference. Even people who play trumpet that day couldn't tell the difference between the two, which was really kind of cool too.
That's fun too. So you probably have some elementary teachers who have brass experience,
Yes.
have band experience, probably some that don't have any band experience.
Yep.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the people that don't have the band experience, they're the ones that struggle the most with teaching instruments to kids, because they don't have that background. So, you know, that's where we've kind of filled in with the PD trainings and being able to get them to a level of being comfortable with using instruments, especially instruments like trumpet. In the we just recently had a PD session at the beginning of the year where we did you know, some training on the pTrumpets and trombones and on the pBuzzes. And in the survey for feedback on that session, one of the teachers said, if you had told me that I was going to play trumpet today, I probably wouldn't have come. I probably would have taken, you know, a sick day or something, because that scares me to death. But the way it was taught with Ramon and the process of teaching them to buzz, they were like, I never knew that I could play a trumpet, and here I am kicking it on the trumpet. So
Sure.
it was really nice because it felt very low risk to teachers. When the instrument is plastic, they're less worried about, what if I break it? What if I dent it? You know, and knowing the value of it. Not that it's in any way cheap, but it's certainly more accessible, and just made them feel like it was easier to be courageous and try this new thing that they would never have tried on their own.
Right, right. The story that we always tell, which everyone knows about, is the trombone slide. The
Right.
first time somebody picks up the trombone slide, it comes off and falls on the floor.
You're done. Yeah.
Plastic's okay. Plastic's okay. And you know, speaking of Ramón Rivera, I know he also did a mariachi
Yes.
session for you, which included the pTrumpet, right, as well as the other mariachi instruments, I believe. Tell me a little about your Hispanic outreach, that cultural, that genre. Tell me about that in Indianapolis, and how did this PD and pTrumpet help with that?
Well, the big thing is looking at the demographics. The demographics in our district, within the next couple years, we will be more than 50% Latino in our population. And those numbers have exploded in the past 10 years. So, you know, historically, we were more Black, and now the city is changing. The outlying counties around our city are changing. And we are just, like I said, we are moving more towards being 50% Latino. So it's really important for me supporting this movement of fine arts in making sure that we are connecting with our Latino students, because they're going to be the majority of the ones sitting in our classrooms. So having Ramon in, I didn't bring Ramon in just because he can teach mariachi and even the pBuzz. I brought Ramon in because when I took Ramon's session at Modern Band Summit 2 years ago, he taught me how to connect better with Latino students. And that was foundationally why I brought Ramon in. The mariachi and the pBuzz thing were a super big added bonus, but teaching and connecting with Latino students was really the reason why I brought him in. And the teachers in the feedback, again, I go back to that feedback survey that we did, almost everybody mentioned how he was so helpful in teaching them ways that they could connect with their Latino students. And it's an area that our district hasn't quite, I don't want to say the district hasn't been helpful, but right now they don't offer any Spanish classes for teachers who don't speak Spanish. They're kind of catching up a little bit right now. So him teaching us, you know, a few words and phrases that we can use with our students just to make them feel seen and represented, and that we value their language and their culture, that's going to go a long way, more so than even the mariachi and the pBuzz stuff, which is also super important. But just that connection is really going to help move us along with connecting with our Latino population.
Sure. And that's really important from our standpoint too, because it's not about the instruments, it's about the kids. And when it's about the students, then you're talking about the families, and that's the genre that they're working, whether it's mariachi or whether it's Cubano or whatever, the horns they use in a lot of different genre. If we can make those more accessible, then that gives you the media to connect.
Absolutely.
And he's been a terrific asset for that. So, well, where do you think things are headed now? We've had these professional development sessions. The instruments are in the classrooms. You say there are more, so apparently that's good news. For the students. Tell me what's happening. Are there any specific stories you might mention of specific teachers who are doing things that might have been surprising to you, or exactly what you expected?
Yeah. No, I think it surprised me how they connected with the pBuzz, because the pBuzz session at the Modern Band Summit, I never got to go to. So I never even got to experience that myself. So I was blown away at how many teachers just really connected and felt like this is going to be my first activity this year. Like, a lot of teachers changed up what they had planned to do at the beginning of the year and moved to using pBuzz because they felt like it would engage the kids so much more. And, that's real important. We have a lot of schools that have not traditionally had art and music classes every year. So for some schools, this is the first time they might have had music classes in a number of years. So obviously the teacher was looking for something to hook them right away and get them interested in enjoying music class. And pBuzz really seemed to be the thing that they thought would do that. And now that we're in our third or fourth week of school, that absolutely has happened. The cool thing is that I already have 3 teachers who have convinced their principals to buy them more pBuzzes, because we put 15 in each building. And obviously in our buildings, that's not a class set. That's about half of a class set. A lot of our music classes from K to 5 range anywhere from 20 to 32. So in this additional order that I just put in, we are putting in 20 more. So they will have 35, which then, should be a class set for every building. The mariachi side, I've already had 2 buildings that have started doing mariachi as a result of the time that they spent with Ramon, which is really cool to see them start that in the first month of school. Like, I wouldn't expect that to happen until later in the year, but here we already have 2 buildings that have started a mariachi program, which is really cool. And I expect there will be a lot more. So it really did, get a lot bigger than I thought it would. And teachers are using it a lot more than I thought they would. So that's really neat to watch, because it was definitely a good investment to put the money into putting all those in there, because it's really revolutionized, I would say, some of the teachers who have been teaching for a long time. This is something brand new for them. So that's kind of fun. But then the teachers who are brand new to teaching, the pBuzz is just so accessible for them that they are having a great time with that one. So it's really, for me, as the person supporting all this, these 2 things, with having the pTrumpets, the pBones, the pMiniBones, and the pBuzzes, we have really hit all of our teachers in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the new people with the pBuzz or the veteran teachers with having these band type instruments now available in their classes. So yeah, it's been really cool. And they got a class set of guitars. So now they can add the guitar piece in with the mariachi experience also, which is totally cool to see too.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I know that you've invested a lot in traditional band instruments as well. And one of the things that we've seen multiple times is that when the elementary programs include these instruments, more students want to join band as they go forward. And even from a beginning band standpoint, they'll use the pInstruments to get started, and and save the metal instruments for once they learn how to not to drop the slide.
Right. Well, and the neat thing too about having these at the elementary level, at the beginning of the year, my colleague and I were going to some of the middle schools to help with instrument testing, to help kids figure out what instrument they want to play. And you always have a handful of kids that, I want to try the clarinet, and they struggle to make a sound on that. Okay, I want to try the flute. They struggle to make a sound on that. Okay, the saxophone. Don't get a good sound on that either. But when you get to the trumpet, if they've come up with this pBuzz or the pTrumpet or the trombone in the elementary level, I know they're going to be able to make a sound on something because they've already done this coming up. So it's always heartbreaking when I get a kid that just for whatever reason cannot make a sound on anything. I see that happening a lot less as the elementary teachers are using these instruments, because at least they will have a brass experience, and then you have lots of options about what instrument to put them on if they want to go with band. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Give the kids the opportunity to be successful. That's all we're trying to do. So,
and
great.
we've opened we reopened 2 of our middle schools this year. And we put band, orchestra, and choir programs in all 7 middle schools. This is the first year in, I don't even know how long, before I was here, and I've been in the corporation 20 years. This is the first time since I've been here that we have had band, orchestra, and choir offered at every single middle school. So just really, like, not even just specifically thinking about band, but just getting them excited about music, whether they choose band or they choose orchestra or choir. Everything is an access point. And especially when you show our Latino students, hey, we value mariachi, we value your culture, we value your language, that is going to still, connect with them, and they're more likely to join one of the 3 ensembles when they get to middle school.
Terrific. Well, thank you for that. Anything you'd like to mention that we haven't talked about?
I want more of Ramón.
Adam,
I need a Concorde jet to fly Ramón here once a week to work with everybody, because Ramón is one of the best. He's by far one of the best PD presenters that we've brought in. We've brought in a lot of PD over the last year, but he is hands down, just one of the best people that we've had in so far. The impact that he, just for one day, he did a 2-hour session in the morning and a 2-hour session in the afternoon, but the line of teachers that was waiting to talk to him both after the morning session and the afternoon session was just really so cool to see, because people just wanted to talk to him more about his ideas and his experiences, or just to tell him how much impact he made on them. So that's just really cool. Like I need more Ramón and more people like clone him. Let's let him be the first Dolly human, right? We cloned the lamb or the goat or whatever it was. Let's make Ramón the next project.
It's
a little scary, but okay. Yeah.
I don't know if Dolly the sheep is on our to-do list. But I'll talk with the team upstairs and we'll see if we can make that happen. No, right. I was going to ask about those other PD experiences you've had, because what would you say makes Ramón stand out in that space? Besides, obviously, he's very infectious. He's incredibly knowledgeable about his area. What would you say separates him?
I think what separates him most is helping teachers create those relationships with the students. I mean, we have brought in a lot of presenters who have been fantastic. Here's how to start a beginner on the cello. Here's how to start a beginner on this. Here's how to take your concert band to the next level. We've gotten a lot of those, and they're all fantastic. But most of those PD presenters have not taught the teachers how to build relationships. And that is the key with Ramón, because Ramón's knowledge about his content areas is just such a wealth of knowledge. But the piece of building relationships, that is hard to teach people. For some people in teaching, it comes naturally, but other people need to know steps. Like, how do I engage with my Latino students? And that's exactly what he gave them, was literally small steps they can take to connect with those students. And that's just something that's difficult to teach teachers, and he's found a way to do it.
Yeah. And would you say that in conjunction with Ramón's session and also using these instruments that are more accessible and more open, would you say it's affected your approach, not only for this year, but for your future strategy, I guess?
Absolutely. I think that the teachers, you know, when you teach a group of teachers how to use this new resource or teach in this new way or connect with students in a new way, those people then become experts themselves and they share that knowledge. Like a lot of the teachers that were there that day, my veteran teachers, they are mentoring a lot of our newer teachers. So, you know, they get that added bonus of the Ramón inspired lessons are coming through the veterans, and the veterans are sharing that then with the newer teachers. And the newer teachers were there that day, but their brains are so packed with all of this new stuff that they might have just missed a lot of that. So it's helpful to have the veterans then will be continuing the work that Ramón started. So absolutely, it will be something that we continue to support here.
I do have a question about your band teachers. And often the band teachers are not receptive to plastic instruments. That's been, you know, that's always a challenge, and it's fair because there have been bad plastic instruments.
Yes.
And have to be careful about that. But you can tell me a little bit about this experience with the band teachers?
You know, the band teachers, we have a lot of new teachers because we just opened all these programs. So a lot of them, that was our very first day of school. The PD day with Ramón was the very first day of school for teachers. So there were some of them that I have never even met. But I know there were some of them coming into this thinking, why are we getting these plastic trumpets, you know, and just a lot of skepticism coming into it. But then once they got going on it, I don't think they thought any more about it. Now, whether they would, you know, I don't think anybody would see it as, if we got to the point in our district where we could no longer afford to buy some of the more expensive brass instruments, I think that everybody in our band positions right now would agree that those would be perfectly fine to substitute if we did not have the funds. If it means that we have kids who can no longer play in our ensembles because they don't have an instrument, it would definitely be a great option for us to explore. I don't think anybody would be like, nope, sorry, we're not going to take you in band because we don't have enough instruments because we're only going to buy these expensive brass ones. I don't think anybody would be that way now that they've experienced them, I should say.
Right. And I think that's appropriate too, because we all want to see the kids play on high quality metal.
Absolutely. And I don't know whether you know this, Rich, last school year, we have one high school that teaches a class called Fine Arts Connections, where it's basically a freshman elective, and it's an elective that most freshmen take because it fulfills their fine arts requirement for our diploma program in Indiana. And that class, they cycle through a semester or 9 weeks of band, 9 weeks of theater, 9 weeks of piano, and then 9 weeks of art. Okay. And that class last year, they purchased, I think, like 30 of the pTrumpets. And now because of that class, a lot of those freshman kids, when they scheduled for their sophomore year, they joined band because they realized, oh, I can play an instrument, like I can do this. So then they ended up signing up for, some of our ensembles after that experience, which was really cool to see too.
That's cool. That makes that class even more valuable for everybody.
On that, because it sounds though it's been a really positive experience for the teachers have been engaged from the off, even if there was some, as you say, initial skepticism maybe before the session. How would you advise another district if they were going through this decision-making process themselves, if they were wanting to introduce some of our instruments into the classroom?
Yeah, I think the first step is getting the opportunity for those teachers to have them in their hands. Like that's the biggest piece of it, because I was even skeptical, and I'm a flute player. So, you know, I was just a little bit skeptical when I first looked at them thinking, how do these sound? Well, then when we played them, I'm like, okay, it sounds just like a real trumpet without the price tag of the real trumpet. So I think if you're seriously looking at increasing access in your district to have more kids be able to play instruments, I don't know why you wouldn't look at these as an alternative, because the price point is there. You don't have to worry so much about the damage happening. You know, we have a lot of, you know, we have Yamaha instruments at the high school level that the high school directors are afraid to give to beginning students because they don't know them yet. They don't know if they will take care of them. So these instruments are a great option for them because we can still get them started, but not have the worry that if this $3,000 trumpet gets dropped, you know, it's done. You know, it's just such a great alternative that you have to get it in the hands of the teachers and then help them realize that if you're serious about wanting kids to have access to playing an instrument, then you should look at these instruments.
Great, great. Well, on that tone, I do thank you for the comments, and obviously thank you for spearheading this experience. I'll say thanks from pBone. I'll say thanks for the kids, because I think that's obviously what we're all trying to do here.